as a beautypreneur, you have the freedom to wake up and make the world more beautiful. Like imagine having a job where you just wake up and you say that, okay, I'm going to make people even more beautiful. But I think, more than just brands, it's also us as regular janta who need to come up and say that I will vouch for sustainability. I will do my little bit for sustainability. Shark Tank brings to you a lot of visibility that you possibly as a startup can't get on your own. Like there's no way that you can afford that kind of airtime, on your own with your own startup. So it brings you immense marketing. It also helps you with a lot of credibility, because at the end of the day, a brand is trust. Do I do some share of chemical treatments? Yes, I do. But then is that all I do? No. So you need a mix of both in your life. Like you can do some treatments that give you faster results because that is the need of the hour.
Hi, in today's episode, we have with us Kanika Diwani, a seasoned beauty consultant turned entrepreneur. She boasts over 19 years of experience in the beauty and lifestyle industry with roots in Nagpur. She draws inspiration from her family's legacy of hard work and determination. In 2018, she founded Mintree, a brand committed to purity, sustainability, and holistic well being. Certified organic, 100% vegan, and free from harmful chemicals, something that all of us need. Mintree offers consumers a delightful sensory experience. Kanika's journey reflects resilience, creativity, and an unwavering commitment to excellence, inspiring beauty entrepreneurs and beauty enthusiasts alike. And that includes me. I'm always looking at, products that's going to be less harmful for my skin. So, welcome, Kanika, in today's show.
Thank you. And thanks for having me over.
Thank you so much for coming because I'm sure so many of our listeners are dying to know your story. And, we are all wanting to get products like Nani Ke Time Ke products that, was made at home with less chemicals, that doesn't have too many, stuff in it that can really harm you in the in the years ahead. So tell me a little bit about your journey, from fashion and design management to beauty and wellness. What inspired you to start Mintree and how did you develop the initial version for the brand? I mean, were you really sure right from the start that you want to work in this space of sustainability, vegan, 100% free of chemicals?
So actually, I was a very creative girl, and I wanted to be in a profession where I have the freedom to create. And I was sure that it would be something in the lifestyle space, either fashion or beauty. So I worked in both the sectors enough, and finally picked beauty because I enjoyed that even more. And we are very lucky because as a beautypreneur, you have the freedom to wake up and make the world more beautiful. Like imagine having a job where you just wake up and you say that, okay, I'm going to make people even more beautiful. So it's just that kick. And I'm also a very big skincare enthusiast because I feel like, I of course like love makeup, and I think makeup's great, but I also feel like it's important for you to have great skin because, you take care of your body, your skin, etc. really well. Then you don't need to conceal, and you need to just be as natural as you can be. So I feel like, if I can aid people to have great skin, it's something that I really enjoy.
Oh, how lovely. That's wonderful because I think so many women want good skin and nobody wants to be caked up. It is so much more easier to have a very fuss free beauty regimen going.
And Minty, we say things like that. We say heal, don't conceal. Like we say, Minty.
Oh, lovely. That's wonderful, Kanika. Heal, but do not conceal. How lovely. So, how important is sustainability to you, and how do you ensure that Mintree products really meets ethical and sustainable standards? Because it is very difficult, in today's time and age, to manage the two and have those two bridge to be crossed, and meet at a certain point. How do you do that?
So for me, sustainability is very important, and we took a conscious call. So like if you see our packaging, it sort of looks like this. So they're like these wooden
Yes.
bottles, and some people think that why are we cutting trees, but we're not cutting trees. So near Nagpur we have a region called Pench, and we have a lot of forests there. Near,
Yes, of course, we know about
and they
bench.
have and we have like little woods that are wasted, like the trees that naturally fall. Eventually the larger ones are auctioned by the government to construction sector, etc. And the smaller wood that nobody uses are just like thrown out or burnt or something, which create even more pollution. So we actually buy those little pieces of wood. We go to those auctions and we bid for it, and with those little woods we actually create these things, right? So if you see, they're not even like parallelly looking one, like there will be different putties of wood, because none of it looks the same. And we accept that imperfection, and we say that, okay, we are okay for our bottles to not look so perfect of one grain of wood, and we will, take small bits and put it together. And then after some time, we will like launch refills, and then this bottle will lie because it's such a piece of art, and some local craftsman has actually made it. So we deployed these people, who will be, doing this. So we are creating more jobs. We make a piece of luxury, and then we, launch refills so that people can keep using these bottles. Because, initially when we launched these, the customers came back and said it's so heartbreaking to throw these bottles. Like, after we finish using them, we don't want to throw them. And we didn't want them to throw it. We were just waiting for our customers to give us the right feedback, that what are our top sellers, and then we will launch sort of the refills for it, right? So we want to make sure that we reduce plastic heavily, and that's what we are doing with packaging. And also with products and ingredients, we are trying to be as clean as possible, because there's enough and more that we do to our lifestyles and our skin and our bodies. So there's somebody out there who has to step up and say, no, but I'm going to heal you, and I'm going to fix things, and I'm going to cleanse you in the most natural way. So that's what we do.
Amazing, amazing, Kanika. And I love the bottle because I love the way it's got its gradations in it, and that makes it so beautiful.
Yeah, we try to
Yeah,
keep things as clean, as raw as they are. And I feel like that's what is real beauty, raw.
absolutely. Completely agree with you on that. So tell me a little bit about your previous experiences, with brands like L'Oreal Paris and Benefit Cosmetics. How did it shape your approach, to building Wintry? Because they really don't claim about sustainability and having really clean products.
See, I think, sustainability is something that, we are learning as we go. And they are also, as FMCG is conscious, to do these things like, but also there's a price component, and, I mean, there are little alternatives on certain things. So I think they, as companies, if you actually look at their larger vision at their HQs in Paris or London, they actually have a very large vision. But it's just that sometimes with their scale, it's very difficult to implement this, and the pricing and the impact that would have on the mass. But I think, more than just brands, it's also us as regular janta who need to come up and say that I will vouch for sustainability. I will do my little bit for sustainability. Not only like brands, but all of us have to take onus. Only then it will come through. But L'Oreal and Benefit overall as companies, I mean, both of them are, like one is LVMH, one is L'Oreal. They are solid companies with solid quality measures, with a really robust strategy when it comes to products. So I learned a lot. Like with Benefit, it has my heart, because it recruits 16-year-olds into makeup, like, or teens into makeup. It's that brand that brings you into makeup, right? So you work with teens and how their mindset is, and what makes them happy. So it is a separate joy to work on a segment like that. On L'Oreal, of course, it's the sophisticated woman's brand. So again, the aura and the ethos is so different. So I worked with different cults of women across, and then that shapes you up to understand, like, what is it that I identify most with, and which women do I want to be about. And then I realized that, skincare is so generic that you don't have to be someone. You just have to be, someone who's clean, and be out there, and have women choose you for, your rawness, your, like, your ingredients, your methods. So eventually the journey has been beautiful.
Evidently, of course, the journey has been beautiful. You have also been on Shark Tank India, and it's had an impact on your business. So tell us a little bit about your experience in pitching with Shark Tank. That I think would be very interesting for so many of our listeners to know. How did you go about it?
So I think the pitch is not as scary as it like really sounds, because somebody who's putting money into your company is entitled to grill you a bit, and it's absolutely fine, right? And if you're doing the work, you won't feel like it's a grill, because you know those answers, right? So sometimes when you interview people to hire them in your own company, they say so much, right? But when they actually come to work, you realize some of them don't have that skill set, right? So they just want to be sure that you know what you're saying. So they ask you, multiple questions to just know how thorough you are. That's all what it is. And of course, Shark Tank brings to you a lot of visibility that you possibly as a startup can't get on your own. Like, there's no way that you can afford that kind of airtime, on your own with your own startup. So it brings you immense marketing. It also helps you with a lot of credibility, because at the end of the day, a brand is trust. If people trust you, then you are a brand. And if they aspire you, then you're a brand. So it's a way of building trust. Recruitments become easy. Like, so many people want to apply to our company now because they feel we are maybe credible. Because if sharks have invested in us, then we are credible. So we built some credibility. So recruitments become easier. Our suppliers, who used to never like give us that much bhav because our MOQs were not matching theirs, suddenly they think we are we are growth worthy, and they see interest in us and they see value in us. So it changes like the whole dimension for you in various aspects, from sales to recruitments to procurements. Like, all of that becomes better, bigger.
So tell me, you know what? I'm sure there are a lot of critics who talk about synthetic ingredients and they say that it's not as effective, with natural and organic products, and it really takes time. And, there is a lot of criticism there. So how do you deal with that, Kanika?
So personally, I feel like there are two aspects. Like, ask me if I go to a dermatologist. Yes, I go to a dermatologist. Do I do some share of chemical treatments? Yes, I do. But then, is that all I do? No. So you need a mix of both in your life. Like, you can do some treatments that give you faster results because that is the need of the hour. But then you also need to heal your skin and keep plumping it and hydrating it as you go with natural ingredients to, maintain it as well. So I don't think that I as an individual have one path or the other. That, like, if I take a chemical peel, or maybe someday if I'm having some acne marks and I really want them to fade, and I don't want to wait like 3 months for them to fade, then I'm okay to take a peel. It's absolutely fine. But I'm mindful of it, that if I take this peel, I'm going to do this for 3 months to actually heal from that little chemical effect. And so both can coexist, because there are needs for fast results and there are needs for sustainability, and we encourage both to coexist. That's what I feel.
Wow, Kanika, that was so honest, and this was so nice to hear from you because it leaves so many people so confused whether to take on one route, fully, and not take the other. That was fantastic. Yeah, thank you so much for that answer. So, can you just share a mentor or a piece of advice that has had a very profound impact on you on your entrepreneurial journey? It isn't easy. It's a tough, very, very lonesome path that one embarks on, right? So, tell me a little bit about that.
So, for a little bit, going into the past a bit, in 2020, we had COVID, right? And we are very salon heavy brand. Like, we are now at some 3,000 salons, like pan India. And we make like facial kits, pedicure kits, a lot of like products that are used in services in salon. And that was our basis. So the idea was that, I will launch products for the salon, and the salons are like, very picky of their products. Like, if they don't see results, like if you don't make your client Katrina Kaif in 1 hour, then you are not going to get repeat orders from them. You can be sure of that. So your products have to perform immediately and they have to give some gratification instantly. So since we started getting a lot of repeats, we started realizing that our products are good, and that's when the journey came to go into retail. But until 2020, we were a completely salon business and we had no retail products. So when the salon shut for COVID, there was zero business. Like, we went from a turnover of say about 5 crores to zero because salon shut, and we had no business. And in my manufacturing unit, we have 60 like women laborers, okay, whose houses run on their our salary. And it was very painful because we just didn't know what to do anymore. And I didn't want to fire them for sure. I was very clear that, I'm going to find some way. And of course, there's a lot of immense grace that comes from above. And, you get like the right thoughts, and, God comes down and helps you when when he knows you're true. So I actually decided to make sanitizers, and the margins in sanitizers were very like slow, very very low, because government had put a cap and there were bigger players who were doing much larger volumes, could make more money. But we somehow made sanitizers, and we let these women stay, and we didn't make any money for those 1.5 year because sanitizers were, but we could pay our bills and we could pay our salaries, and somehow we sustained ourselves. And then I realized by the end of this whole thing that the only thing that I did was I just showed up, you know so whenever I have a problem, I feel like, sometimes we don't even have answers. But the only thing that helps is to just show up, you know. So now my tough days, I just like, don't worry कि अब मैं क्या करूँगी, मैं बस जाती हूँ. I just go.
I agree with you. That on your tough days, you just need to show up, however, whichever way that you're in. Absolutely.
If you show
Bang
up,
on.
God will
Yeah.
find you an answer for sure.
I agree with you totally because my journey also has been equally challenging. I started during COVID and I had no idea,
Wow.
and I did it. I did it every day. I showed up for every recording. I continued.
And
So
like
yeah,
really helps, Like,
it
and
does.
the other day we had I went to a talk where Vidya Balan was a speaker, and she told me that she had 7 flops in a row, and she had just gotten married, and right after marriage she had 7 flops. And you know how it is when you have these like thoughts that shadi ke baad to ye ho nahi kya, and why is this happening, and you're just gotten married. And she said exactly the same thing, that all I had to do is somehow show up, because if I went in a cocoon, it wouldn't have worked. So I think this is just this universal thing that sometimes when you're troubled and you cocoon yourself, that is probably the worst thing to do. But if you just
Absolutely.
build a little courage
Yeah.
and show up, it'll
Yeah.
all
It'll all fall into place. I agree. I agree. So, how do you tackle the challenge of maintaining, high product quality while also keeping the prices competitive, especially in a market that we know that in India it is a price conscious market, right? So, how do you do that, Kanika?
So, I'll be very honest with you. There's some shares that I have from this journey. So, we are building a slightly more premium product, and we are not really catering to the masses in that regard. And I feel strongly that it's high time that we do this, because, if you actually go abroad and you travel and you come to India and just see the duty free, you will not find one single premium Indian brand. Not one. You will have to hunt your way to find one Indian product on the shelves, and you won't find anything. I applied to go to a trade show abroad, one of the most sought after trade shows in the beauty industry. And I told them that I have a premium product and I want to apply for this premium section that you have in your trade show. And they said that, as an Indian, you don't even qualify for this section because your products are not like, this is the reputation that we have. Like, we don't qualify for luxury things for in whatever. But now the game's like changing, because like if you see Rahul Mishra like at the Paris Fashion Week,
Yeah.
you will see Vaishali Couture, you will see so many people in the fashion now understanding and believing in our crafts. But in beauty, still it's not the case, because people just don't have that faith in our own recipes, our own formulas, that they think that we can be. So I personally feel that I want to focus a lot on quality, and even if it comes at a slightly higher price, which is not like not like making a hole in your bank account, but it's still a little bit premium, and it's not as expensive as some of those European brands, but it's still somewhere in the middle. That's what I'm actually trying to create, because I want to be a premium brand out of India, and I don't want people to think that India is only for massy things, because it pinches me. Like, even when we started our business in the salons, we made the most beautiful pedicure kits. Like, our pedicure kit looks like this. And this is a one-time use kit. And it's very elaborate and very pretty, right? And when we took this, they said, just because you're an Indian brand, we can't give you the premium, because, European products are that, US products are that, blah, blah, blah. Even though I had all the credibility to deserve the price that I did, I just didn't get it because, for some reason, people felt that Indian products aren't good enough. So I'm on a total mission to change this mindset. And I feel very, very hurt when people think that Indian things are not good quality. So I'm okay with the price being a little bit higher, but then the quality has to be like top notch.
How fantastic. Completely agree with you. This is the new India story that we need to take forward for
Yeah.
the amazing stuff that we have. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, who's been your biggest inspirational role models in the business world, and tell me why,
I think
especially in your industry?
in this regard, I've made a lot of mistakes to learn from my mistakes. I I personally think that my work experience has helped me, but I think my father, I would say, would be the guy who's inspired me the most in my journey. Um, he's an income tax lawyer and a chartered accountant, so he's very good with finances. And as a indulgent beautypreneur, I just want to spend thoda extra all the time, and it's a problem to control yourself with those expenses. But he's always kept a check on me, and I think finances is a very large part of a successful business, and that is what I really needed. Like somebody to pull me back, somebody to make me understand the cost economics. Sometimes if you come from a slightly privileged background, even if you indulge a little bit, it doesn't pinch that hard. but
Yes.
then but then if there's someone to tell you that, no, you did this because you indulged, but I hope you realize the value of this indulgence. It's fine, you did it, but you should know that the impact of this was this. So in today's time also, even though I use a premise of my father, I still pay rent. I I still pay electricity bills on my own. I don't take those things for granted because I learned a lot from him, and he didn't spoil me. He kept me in check. So that really helped.
So we would give credit to your father for being your role model. How
Yeah,
fantastic,
absolutely.
Kanika. So, it is a very, very competitive market, the skincare market, right? What are the lessons that you've learned, working in this in business, or let's just say the industry of beauty?
So we've learned a lot of lessons as we go, but I think the topmost lesson for just beauty or any other product business would be to see what problem does this product solve, and not just keep telling new stories, because a lot of people have gotten to a lot of storytelling, and storytelling does sell. I'm not saying, but then you have to keep coming up with multiple stories all the time, and then it's not sustainable from a production angle, from a sustainability angle, from a business sustainability angle also. It doesn't work. So at Mintree we're very clear: the product has to solve a problem. It has to be of certain use and fill a certain gap and do something for the product, for the customer. And if it does that, then only we launch it. Otherwise we don't bother. Like, we don't follow trends, and we don't go running behind launching what other 500 brands are launching. We just focus on what this product is going to do for my customer, because I'm a working girl, and I know how difficult it is to do skincare in day to day and commit myself to a certain routine. So I respect the time of my consumers a lot, and I see that, okay, if my customer is going to give me 3 minutes or 4 minutes of his day, and into the whole year, that much time to my product and my brand, I better make it worth his while or worth her while. So we are very conscious of solutions, and like the value that this brings to the customer. If you focus on that, half your battle is sort of won. And then of course you focus on the experience, the packaging, and so on
Yeah.
and so. But I'm not in that rat race of launching hundreds of products. Like, I'll share something from my past. When we did 5 crores of turnovers, we did it only on 11 SKUs. So we didn't have like 100 SKUs to do larger. And I still believe like that. आप 10 product launch karo, but they should be 100 के बराबर, like that.
आप मार्केट लीडर हो वो 10 प्रोडक्ट के साथ।
हाँ, 10 प्रोडक्ट्स करो, बट मतलब वो प्रोडक्ट में ना घुस जाओ, देखो कि आपके कंपटीशन क्या कर रहे हैं, वो क्या बोल रहे हैं, उनके कैंपेन्स देखो, सी व्हाट आर दे कम्युनिकेटिंग, उनके कस्टमर्स के रिव्यूज पढ़ो। सो यू गो एंड उनके जो इतने सारे रिव्यूज उनके Amazon में, उनके वेबसाइट पे, हर जगह से जाके उनके रिव्यूज पढ़ो और देखो कि कस्टमर, अगर आप उनके रिव्यूज पढ़ोगे ना, तो यू विल नो दैट द कस्टमर्स लाइकिंग दिस एंड नॉट liking this. That will
ओके।
itself give you the right. So we actually sit and read reviews. If you want to launch a product, we sit and spend 1 week reading reviews. Everybody in the team reads 10 reviews a day, and then we make a report of it, and then we sit. So we actually work from insight upwards, and then that always works out, rather than just coming up with seeing one Instagram reel of one brand and saying how cool is this. Don't work.
So, how active do you think the current generation is, when it comes to sustainable living? I mean, do you think that they are taking a step towards this change? And are they really, some of your stakeholders?
I definitely think that the younger generation is really smart, and like they're maybe smarter than all of us, and they just know it, and you
For
don't have to
sure.
give them any gyan, like zero. All you need to tell them is that with all honesty, that this is what you're doing, and this is your belief for this product, and this is what it's going to do. After that, they will decide what they want. I mean, you you have little say, whatever. So I kind of feel that and I think they're also getting more spiritually inclined, and I think there is this whole change of youth not necessarily coming under peer pressure much anymore. Like, I felt like my generation still was a lot under peer pressure, but I think now's generation, they don't care, because there are so many sects of people, people who are like into reform, and people who are into like health and wellness and all, that people are okay to go to club, not go to clubs and not indulge in anything. They're okay, like I mean, it's absolutely fine to go to a party, and there are parties, the spiritual parties these days in Goa. It's amazing. Like, I couldn't have thought of
Oh,
this.
wow. I've never heard of this,
Yeah,
Kanika.
there are
Tell me
spiritual
more.
parties where there is absolutely no alcohol or anything to indulge. There's just beautiful music and people who enjoy music who come together. And so there are
Wow.
there's so much going on that I think there is a space for everyone today, and I think I personally think that in the whole game of sustainability, we have the youth support in a big way.
So, if there's one message that you'd like to give out to beauty brands that practice animal testing and they're sad, some of the videos that one sees, what would it be?
Personally, I feel now, Moa, that we've reached a stage where our formulas are evolved enough that we can now test on humans. Earlier, when we were starting formulas right from scratch, like back in the day where you didn't even have a basic formula, then it was okay to test on animals, because at that time, we genuinely didn't know what's going on. But now our formulas are really quite evolved, so we know that we are starting with some research that has already come. You are probably going to certain labs and starting with a base formula which has already evolved. So I think that animal testing overall is going down now. It isn't a culture anymore. We are testing it on humans only, and sometimes you just have to be bold and test it. And in our company, we are certified organic, so we are not that scared. So we test it on ourselves. I mean, I step up and say, "मैं तो सबसे पहले test कर दूँ." So you I think now that whole animal testing culture is becoming lower, except for some formulas which are so unique or so new that there is no case study of it at all. You know, of sorts. But still, in maybe like 15 years of my career, like we haven't even worked with a single lab that is testing on animals.
How wonderful. That's really
Yeah,
good news, Kanika.
yeah, it's going
Yeah,
down a lot.
that's really good news.
Yeah.
So, Kanika, just for our listeners, what makes you stand out from the competition that you have all around you?
Personally, I would think that we are basic, but we solve problems. We, even if it's a body wash, like something as simple as a body wash, we say that if you use a body wash, it'll be so nourishing that you may not even need to put a lotion. So we try to minimize the time that consumers need on skincare, because, like I said, I'm very conscious of the time that my consumer gives on my brand, and I want to make life simple. Because there's enough already. So we make all our efforts to make skincare as simple as possible and take as least as time as possible and give the maximum result. So at Mintree, that is the goal. कम time में सबसे best result.
How wonderful. सबके पास वक्त की आजकल paucity है
Yeah, yeah.
and
Like
इतना
those
ज़्यादा
like
वक्त
those
नहीं दे
Korean
सकती.
people with like some 50 products one after the other. Like,
Unimaginable.
yeah. I'd say just use one or two products from me, but you'll be fine. If you just do this regimentedly, you will be fine. Two things, not even like multiple. So that's what we feel.
So how has, being an entrepreneur changed you personally throughout these years, right? You worked with L'Oreal, you worked with Benefit. So what skills and qualities do you believe, are essential for success, especially in a competitive industry like the beauty business?
So I feel that, when you become an entrepreneur, you learn to become very responsible, because when you're working in a corporate, there are such strong systems that even if you screw up, somebody else will take over and something will get fixed because the systems are so robust. In startups, there are no systems. You build your own systems as you go. So if you
Yes,
screw up, you will pay a price for it, and everybody around you will pay a price. So you become way more conscious, you learn to understand that your mistakes have an impact, if you don't do sales this month, how will you pay your salaries? What are you going to do? So you become a far more responsible individual, and that responsibility is beautiful. Like, it can weigh some people down and it can make some people thrive. In my case, it helped me thrive. Like, I felt like, wow, I want to shelter everyone in my team and I want them all to grow and I want them all to come and tell me that we are loving it and we want, like we want that journey together, and I wanted them to be really happy. So when I embraced my entire team and my entire ecosystem to be mine, it's almost like, you feel like this love for them like you feel for your family, and then you perform. So that in the corporate, sometimes you don't get it to this intensity because,
yeah,
eventually it's not completely yours.
agree with you fully.
Yeah. So when it's yours, then that love, that passion, that energy, it's a different level. And then when you feel responsible for all these people, like now we have Ganpati going on, and when I go for aartis to the factory morning, evening, and when I see the whole crowd there, and I feel like, oh wow, these are all my team. I feel so happy. Like I feel like, wow, I mean, I want this team to be bigger, bigger. Like jitne ab khade hain na, usse 3 guna zyada ho jaye. I want more opportunities for people. That feeling. So I think the responsibility aspect, which my dad always wanted to make me responsible, but I wasn't becoming. When I joined work, I became responsible. So I think that is one thing that entrepreneurship did to me. And I think also it helps you think outside the box, because a lot of corporates make you think like systems, and they buy you in a certain way, and they make you think in those boxes, right? Like, and because also it's a, like L'Oreal was a global brand. If you want to launch a product in India, you have to take approvals from Paris, so on and so forth. It's a process. Like your idea will come to you today and the product will get launched after 1.5 years, because that is the cycle that it takes. But in your journeys, you can be so quick, you can be receptive,
Yeah.
you can turn things around quickly. So that also is beautiful, so it kind of makes you your lead times in life, like you become a very you as a person, you get used to slower quicker turnaround times.
Yeah.
You become faster, more responsive. So it's quite cool like that. Like I think entrepreneurship is beautiful. It's very hard, but it's beautiful.
It's
You
like
have
a
to really,
marriage. You're
yeah,
married to your work.
yeah. You have to really stick it out. Like you have to
Yeah.
have very thick skin, at least for the first 5 years. You have to have the thickest skin, and you can't shed. Even if you want to cry, you have to cry alone in the room and then show up the next day. That's what you have to
Agree with you fully. I'm sending a high five from here, because I'm, yeah. What's your long term vision for Mintry, and how do you plan to ensure that the brand remains relevant and impactful even in the future, Kanika?
So I'm the biggest manifester for this, and I feel like the larger companies like L'Oreal, like Estee Lauder, Vela, Coty, they're all in this acquiring spree, and they keep acquiring brands year on year, and then they come in as strategic partners, and they help you like really grow your brand, right? Because that's how it is. So like I don't know if you know of a brand called Redken, but Redken just launched in India, and it's a New York based brand, but it comes under the L'Oreal umbrella, and L'Oreal has launched Redken in India now. So L'Oreal keeps acquiring brands. So does Estee. Like Estee, has got equity with Forest Essentials and so on. So I want that, I get like a very big beauty brand like these, to come and see value in my business, to come and acquire me. And just like how they launch brands from other countries in India and Indians go gaga, I want like my brand also to be launched in, like internationally, and people to go gaga. So, I mean, really, that will be like, that will be the day that I feel like, okay, I've done it all, because I really feel that we are capable of very good quality and very good products, and our products perform. They are everything that international products are. So to have a mark global is like the ultimate dream, right? So I believe in a lot of manifestation. So I say that I want to be at every fifth dresser in 5 years. Like that's how I say it to myself. That her on and every fifth dressing table of a woman worldwide. That is the final dream.
And it will come true, Kanika. I can just see so
Thank
much of
you.
passion. Absolutely, it's going to come true. So, Kanika,
Yeah.
before I let you go, tell me, what are the things that you use for this glass skin of yours?
So I actually have a very simple routine. I use a good cleanser, and I just moisturize a lot. So I use a good moisturizer, and I use we have a black mask in our range where we import this black mud from Estonia, and it's just mud. Like it's like how our Multani mitti is, it's their mud, but it's very because the terrains are such that it has full of minerals, and it's this beautiful mud that comes from super clean. So I use that twice a week, and it makes like a huge difference to my skin. Like of course you do the basic moisturizing cleansing, but this mask twice a week has made like a huge difference. It's been about 2.5 years I've been using it, and swear by it. And I've used some of the fancier masks, like the Barbara Strum, La Prairie, etc. Just to bench ki, what is the deal, But I think I also feel like some of it is a lot of marketing. Like, it's not necessary that if you buy a cream worth 20,000, it's going to change the game for you. Like, I don't believe in that.
I also don't believe in it at all. So, wishing Mintry lots and lots of success. And thank you, Kanika, for taking out the time and being in today's podcast. I'm sure a lot of our listeners are definitely going to immediately start procuring for themselves the mask. I for sure will. and
I'm
wish you
happy,
lots and lots of
happy
luck.
to send you to try it, and I'd love your feedback on it. So it was a great conversation with you today.
Thank you.